Welcome, everyone, to A Mexican and a Redneck Father the World. We are your hosts and surrogate fathers, Juan and Ben. Today we'll be discussing the pressure of being a father.
It's heavy, man.
It's heavy.
So, my wife and I, we just had our fourth child, Ben.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
I'm so happy for y'all.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. It's very, it's very exciting, and I've forgotten how much babies need attention. And then that phrase too, like, oh, like I slept like a baby. I was like, what do you mean? You woke up every 2 hours hungry and crying? Is that what you did? It's like, that's a horrible way to sleep. It's like, yeah, it's like, that's what people ask me. How'd you sleep? Oh man, I slept like a baby. It's like, oh, good for you. Like, no, it was horrible. I was hungry. I was crying. I was wet.
I was wet.
Yeah. Strange noises in the house. Like it was just weird. It's like, no, I want to sleep like a grown person. No, so as far as like the let's talk about this subject, because I think this is something that's much needed. The pressures of being a father. You have 3 kids. I have 4 kids now, which is just crazy to think that I have 4 kids that depend on me. So and then going through this phase, we realized the other night, my wife and I were like, oh my gosh, we're closer to 40 than we are to 30. And it made me realize, like, wow, the pressure is that much more. Because I remember when we had our first kid, it was great. First kid, we're still kind of like getting the routine and you're experiencing it, you're going through it. But with my 4th child, I'm like, I should know how to act like a parent. It's like I should know what to do by now. I don't know if you got that experience when you had your kid, your 3rd kid or something like that. Did you have that?
Every day.
Okay.
I have that experience right now.
Because, it's like with our first kid, we stayed up and watched TV because she was recovering, and so she wasn't really able to do much. So I was doing, helping out, taking care of her. But then, it's like, it was still this kind of like this relaxed time. So with this kid, we just had our child, and I'm thinking like, oh great, we'll be able to stay up and kind of like, no, there's no staying up because there's still 3 other little kids that I got to take care of, and it's like, so I have to go to bed, even though I want to stay up and watch TVs with my wife and kind of hold our new baby boy and just kind of, just enjoy that. But no, in the morning when I wake up, if I do that, there's these 3 little kids who are going to be like hungry and crying because they're hungry and they want to be fed. But daddy stayed up way too late, so daddy wants to sleep. So my response is like, go back to bed, but they've already been in bed for like 10 hours. How much sleep can a kid actually take? Which goes back to this, man. It's like being a dad is hard. Being a father's hard.
You got to identify the priorities.
Yeah.
And you got to do it kind of quick.
Yeah.
Can't stay out late with your buddies. Can't. You have rules. I actually had a conversation with one of my kids about this. And they're like, you're an adult. You don't have any rules. I'm like, oh, little one. If you only knew.
Ye of little understanding.
If you only knew what father deals with.
Yeah. Oh, man. I keep on going back to that. It's like, as a kid, you just don't appreciate your parents. You just don't appreciate the sacrifices they did and like how much they had to die to their wants. Even if they didn't do a good job of dying to their wants. If you had a crappy parents, which I feel like I had crappy parents, and they did okay, but still, you still had to do it. There was still that sacrifice. Like my dad could have been a complete asshole and just left and be like, screw y'all, I'm doing what I want to do. Which he did for a couple of periods of his life, but it's okay. He tried. He came back, after we chased him down.
See? It all worked out. And you're here today talking about your 4th child.
Yeah, and we're here today. And so now I'm like, man, okay, I have to, it's like, I'm telling my kids, it's like, you are living a great period in your life. You have no responsibilities. You have no need of anything. It's like, but yet you feel oppressed. Like, why do you feel oppressed? You have complete freedom.
I was thinking about that this week. I really was. And I was like, what makes kids spoiled and entitled? And it occurred to me, it was the missing of want, the missing of hurt. if I give them every single thing they need, they have no clue that they can go without it. If, you know, if they get all the stuff in the world that they want, they're just gonna be like, oh well, life's not bad, like it's like all you do is control me. You're always telling me no. And I heard a hunter one time. He was talking about the difference between a hunting dog fearing you and fearing natural threats, and he was talking about training dogs and how you have to train the dog to understand the realities of the world so that it knows how to behave in the wilderness while you are hunting instead of just obeying you. And that way you work with the dog to catch the game as opposed to you forcing the dog to catch the game.
Mm.
He explained it a lot better because he knew what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good analogy for this point. And that's the thing with children. Are you working with your children to help them understand the realities of the world and how you are all a team? I didn't just create you because I needed a new responsibility. I didn't have 3 kids because, I didn't have enough responsibility in my life. I had 3 kids because I wanted to build a team.
Right. I want to clean up after myself and after you. Yes.
Let's throw your mom in sometimes too, just for fun.
My garage is not messy enough. I need 3 messy rooms and a messy kitchen.
But that's the reality. And so I think part of dealing with the pressures of fatherhood is letting your kids see some of them.
Yeah.
Experience. Well, I couldn't buy this thing I wanted because you needed diapers this week. I couldn't buy this thing I wanted or do this thing I wanted because somebody had to watch you because there wasn't anyone else to watch you. So I didn't get to go do my thing. And I think once kids start, and you can't be the nagging parent who's like, well, we spend all our money on you, so we can't go on vacation. Not that. But let them truly see your life. Oh, my dad does this for work. Try and tell them what you do for a living and how hard you work. And, oh, my dad works really hard. Or let them be a part of your projects. And they're like, oh, yeah, dad really does need to fix the sink this week so we can use it to brush our teeth.
Yeah.
That exposure, I think, really helps with the pressures of fatherhood because, 1, you're getting to teach them. 2, they're starting to show some empathy and understanding. And 3, okay, now you're getting together and working together, and that team is being built. And it's not just the leader and all the people below him. It's there's a level of teamwork involved in a family unit.
It's funny, like my oldest, she was like, Daddy, you get too much screen time. And I was like, no, I don't. And I showed her, like, this is what I'm doing when I'm watching the monitors, when I'm watching my phones. It's like, I'm working. This is how I work. And so she was like, oh, kind of like get it. But yeah, that's absolutely true. As far as being able to, we try to protect our kids from the dangers of the world, but at the same time, we got to be able to expose them. And they need to experience want and desire and patience. It goes back to that podcast that we did about controlling your child's appetite. If they don't learn to control their appetite when they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how are they going to control it when they're an adult? If they're used to just getting what they want, how are they going to control it? And even with my kids, I find myself as like, we have the stuff. Like, we may have the treats in the refrigerator, but if I'm constantly giving in to them, then how are they going to learn how are they going to learn self-discipline? How are they going to learn, just waiting for the right time? So that's very important. And even with this, man, like this new baby, I'm like, oh man, this is a new balancing act of like, how do we get sleep? How do I stay positive? How do I take care of these kids? How do I expose them to this without actually being that grumpy dad? Grumpy dad is like, then they're looking like, well, it's like we had this extra kid, but instead of being a joyous a joyous time, it's kind of frustrating and annoying. It's like, I don't want to have a big family. Like, no, I want my kids to grow up and be like, I want to have a big family, because having a big family is awesome, I think.
Well, again, one of our episodes, the culture of your homes. What are you teaching your kids to value?
Mm-hmm.
What are you teaching your wife to value? Are you teaching them to value the cool hobby you have? Or are you teaching them to value each other? Are you, is that, are you spending time? Me and my kids, we play guitar and sing. We listen to music together. We read stories together. I just spend a lot of time playing with them because I want them to know that creative play, spending time just doing something fun that's free generally leads to the greatest joy in my experience with them. And I mean, and it helps alleviate the pressures of being a father because they're appreciating what you're giving them when you're giving them that time. And they come up, oh, Daddy, I love you, and give you a hug and a kiss. And, you're the best dad ever. And when you hear those things, man, or they make you a picture or something. It's like that makes the pressures of being a dad significantly less. And you you have an understanding of, oh, this is why I'm doing it. And then when people come and say something nice about your kid, that really helps too.
That really does help. It really does. But then this is a question that I have as far as like balancing being a dad versus balancing what you want to do. Because there's another thing too that happens in our society, Ben, where people get so involved with their kids to where their kid becomes part of their world. Like everything they do, like your whole world goes around your kids, like sports, everything. But then when your kids leave your house, you have no purpose because your kids were your purpose. So there's a fine balancing act between like taking care of your kids and then going after the things that you want to do as your personal pursuits and hobbies. Because some hobbies are good to pursue. You need to have a hobby. You need to have a creative outlet that's going to help you as a man to be able to be more productive in the house and not just being angry because you're here. I am working for you and you don't appreciate me. You don't respect me. You don't do this because kids, they're not going to respect you.
They don't know how to.
They don't know. Exactly.
They don't have the tools.
They don't even know what it means.
Right. They're just like, well, I'm here. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But it's funny. They understand it. Like my 2-year-old, my son, he understands respect because it's in our nature as men to be respected. So when he's disrespected, he knows to lash out in anger, which is it's hilarious. And I'm like, oh, I've disrespected you. I'm sorry. I need to honor you as a man because you are a man. You're growing up to be a man. You're not going to be a child. You're a child for this stage of your life. But for the majority of your life, you're going to be a man, So it's hilarious, Ben, just experiencing that. And I find myself going through those experiences like, okay, this is just a season of life right now. The end result is they're going to be adults. And are these adults going to be people that they actually want to hang out with me? Because, like, man, my dad was awesome. Or are they going to be like, I don't want to see you ever again because you were a horrible father? I'm hoping for the awesome part. I really am. I'm trying to work really hard at that. So hopefully we'll get that. But in the meantime, finding that balance of like, okay, how do I show my kids that I care about you, I love you, and I want to take care of you? But then at the same time, there's things I got to do. And I think you made a great point, showing them your struggles, being open with them.
Sure. You don't have to be the Superman. That's definitely my experiences, right? It's just my experiences with my family. But showing, hey, I'm real. I'm just like you. I just happen to be 30 years older or whatever it may be. And saying I've got these dreams, I got these wants, but I got to put that on hold because taking care of our family right now is more important to me than owning that vintage vehicle.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And that's they're like, oh, okay. And, and we're talking, my oldest, we talk a lot about saving money. She's gotten an allowance now, which is just $4, but she's learning, hey, I'm getting very little money, but if I save it, I've got a lot of money. And she had that revelation here recently. And now she's like, I'm saving my money. And it's not just blowing it as soon as she gets it on whatever candy or little trinket. It's like, oh, no. Now I have $39. And that was a big deal, that revelation of I've almost got 40 of my own dollars. And she's realizing what it takes to save it. Now she's got this greater appreciation for why mommy and daddy don't go out and blow all their money. And she's quit asking for toys and to go places and do stuff. And we're like, wow, we're being good parents. This is incredible. Mm-hmm. I hope we can keep it up.
I had this thought when I was little, when I was like, I guess a teenager, but I remember thinking, I was like, kind of came to the realization of like the importance of money and realizing like how much I didn't need money as a little kid, and thinking like, man, if I just saved every single one of those dollars, I would have thousands of dollars. But I didn't, because I was a kid, and I would go out and buy candy and stuff like that I didn't really need, but it tasted good.
You're here though.
No, I'm here. I survived.
You're here now.
I survived the sugar rush of the 90s.
I said. I always set the bar so low. I'm like, I just don't expect anything from life or anyone. So if anything great happens to me or good, I'm just like, okay.
That's the best way to live, though, man. It's like, it's like you have no expectations. So every time something good happens, like, this exceeds my expectations.
If something bad happens, you're just like, huh, well, it was bound to happen. Bad stuff happens.
Yeah.
So, let's just have a good time and enjoy life.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things too, as far as like being a dad, as far as the pressure. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to where you're like putting these high expectations of it. In reality, man, this is the first time we're doing it. As far as being a dad, it's a journey, and it's probably going to be one of those things where you're going to get good at it when it's done. It's like your kids are moved out and you're out of the house, and it's like, oh, now I know how to be a good dad, but my opportunity is gone. And then you're going to try to teach it to your kids, because then you're the grandparent, but then your kids don't want to hear it, because then they're like, whatever, you don't know anything, old man. I'm going to learn this on my own. And then I found myself like, maybe I should listen to my elders and be like, but not completely. I don't want them to completely control my life, but I'll listen to your wisdom if you're giving me wisdom. But if you're just trying to control my life, I'm not going to listen to you. Anyways, that's just a random rant.
I'm glad you shared it with us.
With that being said, guys, I want to thank y'all for listening to A Mexican Redneck Follow the World. We love you, and we're proud of you.